I am so excited to have you here on Resilience Gone Wild, Up Close and Personal. I met Joost only recently at the recommendation of our buddy Ollie, who did the episode about honey badgers, I don't know,
Yes.
a few months ago. And I'm looking for someone to help me do some like fun little video clips and do marketing and whatever. And had the honor and privilege and joy of being in conversation with Joost. And we had this little bonding moment around an experience that he had in Botswana that was a little risk taking level higher than I did. So I thought it would be really fun to talk about it and what he learned from it. So Joost, I cannot pronounce your last name, so I'm throwing it back at you. Tell us a bit about you and how you ended up in Botswana doing what you did and set us up. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's very nice to be here today. So my name is Joost Hagedoorn. It's a Dutch name. It's very hard to pronounce, but it's like Joseph Hawthorne, but then the Dutch version. Indeed, I was in Botswana. The reason I was in Botswana is because I'm crazy about wildlife. I've been crazy about wildlife for a long time. And I'm also a filmmaker. I make videos for companies and for creatives, for artists, for all types of people. And those two things go well together. So my attraction to wildlife and my camera always kept pushing me to go to wild places like South America and most of all Africa. So after a few years of spending going on trips there, working on small projects, I ran across a company called African Guide Academy, which trains guides from some of the best safari companies in the world to become even better. They train them on bird watching, on how to survive, to recognize plants and trees and flowers, all these type of things. Everything your guide should know.
I have
and
to
beyond.
say, I was blown away by the knowledge of our guides when we were there, and they had been to these trainings, but they'd also grown up in this world. So they had this advantage of a whole lifetime
Yeah.
of this being their world and them listening for that communication between species and within species and every different type of bird and type of petal and type of behavior. And the fact that you jumped in without having had the lifetime, growing up time, and were able to absorb all that and like learn all that is so impressive to me. I'm just putting it out there. So
it is. I feel very blessed to have the opportunity to have had these experiences because it's not easy to go to Africa. It's an expensive way to spend your holidays. Safaris are incredibly expensive for many reasons, but let's not dive into that. But I was very blessed. I spent more than a year in the bush in land cruisers, chasing animals, finding animals, filming animals, photographing animals, working on projects related to nature conservation and restoration, but also more commercial ecotourism type of projects. And in Botswana, this company, the African Guide Academy, was run by two brothers who are quite famous guides. They even had a show on the National Geographic. I've been following them for a while, and then they posted an advertisement saying they were looking for a social media director.
Oh, cool.
So I applied straight away with full enthusiasm, and they caught that enthusiasm. They were very happy to see my application, and they hired me, and they flew me into Botswana to help them out, capturing content, setting up their social media accounts, doing lots of very cool excursions into the bush with land cruisers on foot and whatnot to film and capture what's going on in Botswana, in the heart of the Okavango Delta, which is one of the most magnificent places in the world. So it was a big privilege. And spending a few months there on the ground changed my life forever. It's very simple. It just changed my life. I've never witnessed nature in such pristine condition and such a diversity and thriving the way it is in Botswana. There's only a few places in the world left like this, like the Serengeti in Tanzania and Kenya. And it was really, really a wonderful experience to be able to wake up every morning. At night, you hear leopards next to the tent and hyenas and whatnot. Like it's wild. It's cool. It's really
Wow.
impressive. And it's,
I have to say, what you're making
yeah,
me think about is, and having had that experience, but just for a week, for 7 nights, 7 days, 7 nights, and a day of it I spent literally delirious with some weird thing, maybe dehydration, maybe something. So I actually only got about 6.5, 5.5 days out of it. That the first few days you're in an experience, you're just capturing like the basics, like this small,
yeah,
the big stuff that you see, right? And then you're there for another few days and you start paying attention. Like you're not like, oh my God, there's an elephant. Like it's just like there's lots of elephants.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
what's the elephant communicating with the other elephant, right? And I can't even imagine being there for months, right? So that you're going beyond. So the guy that
yeah,
was with us said, listen to the owlet. He was calling all night for a mate. And I wouldn't have noticed it otherwise. And all night, this poor owlet was calling. And eventually, like by morning, his tweet or whatever was so much weaker, but it was still going. And there's this just different connection with nature when you're past the quick ahas, right? The wows.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it changed
I
me.
agree completely. And then after a while, there's some deeper learning because indeed the beginning is the Kodak moment. You see the
Right.
elephants, you see the lions. You're like, click, click, click. Wow, it is wonderful. This
You
is
get your
already,
pictures. You're like, I got
like,
my
yeah,
picture of the lion and the
this is
baby.
already breathtaking.
Yeah.
This is worth it completely. What triggered me to keep coming back was that the more I went, the more I learned.
Mhm.
More questions I asked, the more they told me. The more they told me, the more I got intrigued. And I got not just a little bit intrigued, I got completely passionate about it. Like, normally, I don't know, when you grow up in a city, you have a feeling like humans are super smart and animals are, they're just animals, they just do what they do. But when you start seeing how they interact amongst themselves and other species and stuff, and you see that all these things actually make sense and it's very, very close to human behavior, it was eye-opening for me to see how an elephant demands respect by crossing a path first. So if you have a big elephant and a small elephant, the big elephant will cross first if they cross paths. If the small elephant doesn't let
Wow.
the big elephant pass, the big elephant will get annoyed and
Wow.
will know that he's bigger. And these type of things, you don't imagine that, elephants, like, okay, yeah, they eat, they drink, they walk around, they're cool, but you don't imagine them being so conscious, so sentient, so amazing. And this was for me just an experience that was, yeah, it changed my world. It changed my view on nature, and as a result, it also changed my view on human beings as maybe not being as special as we think we might be.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of respect for the nature that's still there. And unfortunately, wild nature is disappearing. So in Europe, it's hard to see wild nature like this. And of course, we have a few wolves, we have a few bears, we have a few lynxes and a few big mammals and stuff, but they're very rare. In Botswana and other places, you can see in one, you turn around, you see hyenas, lions, giraffes, elephants, zebras, antelopes, all together in the same space. And one of these things that always mesmerized me.
But is really important point, not to just like fly by it, that they're in the same space. They're in the way it's naturally supposed to be in an ecosystem,
Yes,
live together. And the interaction is what matters, right? So you're
yes,
going to tell us a story about wild dogs, and I have, a couple of stories about wild dogs too. We were in a different physical risk place when we had the experiences, but like these stories and this experience and this understanding of nature can't happen unless you see the way they interact and the way it's supposed to be.
yes, yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of
And
the
this is
zoo
one
where
of the
they're
reasons
in the
I wish everybody could experience this.
yeah, yeah.
Because if everybody would have experienced this, we would treat nature and our natural world better. It's that simple. Because you get respect for it and respect, not just, save it for the sake of saving it, but saving it because it's the right thing to do. It's such a beautiful thing that we don't want to waste. And that goes to every little detail how we consume every day in our lives.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going with your story. So you're in
Yeah,
Botswana, you're learning about and being blown away by the interaction and the whole system of how everything works
yeah,
together. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So what taught me so much is, well, my bosses, the owners of this company, were mesmerizing. These are the type of people, we pass by a bush, they jump out of the car, they run in, they come back with a snake in their hand. And they do the opposite of what you would expect. Normally, you don't go running towards a snake, you stay away from snakes. But these
Only
guys, they know animals so well.
yeah.
Yes, they know animals so well. They know their behavior. That make them predictable, and they can easily, comfortably approach a lion, an elephant, a wild dog on foot, without a gun. Without a gun is depends on the situation, because if you go with tourists, you're obliged to have a gun for in the case something goes wrong, which more or less never happens. Um, so one day, when I was in camp in their Papa training camp, as it's called, we woke up in the morning, and before I had my first coffee or my breakfast, I was standing in my underwear drinking a cup of tea, and we heard wild dogs on the other side of the river.
Wow.
It was just me and my boss, and we were. My boss is, in that sense, a little bit crazy, but he's just bush savvy. He's been spending his life in the bush. He knows everything, everything, everything. And he was like, "You want to go see them?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we crossed the river, me barefoot in my underpants and a t-shirt, my boss in his morning outfit as well. He
Try to
just had
post
a
a
coffee, but
picture.
that's it.
Wait, Yost, we're going to try and pick. If
Yes.
anybody has taken a picture of this, we will get it from you and we will post it.
I think there might be something somewhere. I will have to look it up. So we cross a river, but you don't really normally cross a river by yourself in the Okavango Delta, because the river is full of alligators, it's full of hippos, and there's
Yeah.
actually hippos around camp. So it's not something you normally do. But my boss is such a convincing guy, and I have so much faith in his ability to do these things that I trust him blindly and I followed him. So we went to the other side of the river, which by itself was already halfway. I was like, "What am I doing? Is this smart? I don't know. Let's just go." So we continue to the other side. The wild dogs, they make these noises when they're hunting. There's and my boss can tell exactly, like, they're hunting, they're not hunting, they're playing, they're this, they're that. He knows all these noises. So we went to the other side, and we see an antelope, an impala, struck down, bleeding, but not dead yet. It was attacked by the wild dogs, but not dead. So my boss said, "It's clear, this and this happened." He can see exactly what happened by approaching on such a scene. He's like a private detective for the bush. So he sees this impala laying on the ground. He says the dogs are chasing the other impalas in the hope to catch another one, because a pack of wild dogs is they eat fast, they eat a lot.
Yeah.
So if they can catch two, they might as well catch two. So he said, "Let's stay with this impala and wait for a few minutes, because they will come back to eat it." And so, as he said it, we did it. We were hiding behind a termite hill, which is not really hiding. It was 5 meters away from the impala. So
And
like
they
a
can
few
smell you.
footsteps.
So it's not like they didn't know you were there.
And they smell you. Of course, they smell you. But they come back. They come back for their prize. Their impala. They killed it, so they're gonna eat it. And they devour the impala in front of me and my boss within 5 minutes. A whole impala. It wasn't even that many dogs. It was like 8 or 10 dogs. Like, you have packs of wild dogs that go until 50, 60. So they're endangered, and it's difficult for conservation of wild dogs, because they use a big territory and they need to kill a lot to keep on feeding. But this was a rather small pack, around 8 to 10 dogs. They devour an impala in front of me, and in 5 minutes, the whole impala is more or less gone. There's only some bones and some skin left. I've been standing there with a big smile from ear to ear. Never in my life have I imagined to experience this on foot in the morning, without a gun, without a car, without any safety precautions. We just see it, and that's it. And then there's 2, 3 young dogs that see us, sniff us. They walk a little bit towards us because they're curious, like, what are these humans? They never saw it. And it was very clear that they got called back by the parents, by the mom or the dad. I don't know which one it was. Like, "Watch out. Don't approach these humans. Humans are dangerous."
Wow.
And then they left. And that's it. And we went back to camp. And there's so many things that are so counterintuitive in such an experience because it's like a lion. You don't go towards a lion, you go away from a lion. You don't go to a pack of hunting wild dogs on foot. You stay away, you stay safe, you stay in the tent, you stay in the car. And we did the opposite. And because these animals, effectively, they see us as super predators. They see humans as the most dangerous animal there is. Most of these animals have seen humans in real life and they stay away from it. So when for instance you're sitting in your safari car and you see lions, you think if you step out you'd be dead, which is true because and you shouldn't do that. But effectively, and I've been filming a lot, and sometimes I needed a shot from under the car or from on top of the car, so I did get out of my car now and then. Always with a guide, always with all the safety precautions, because I'm not the idiot that does these type of things and then gets eaten, of course. And what happens when you open the car door? The lions go away. They see you step out, they
Oh,
go
they're
away.
afraid of you.
They're afraid. They're completely afraid. The problem is if you're too close, you know, the fight or flight distance and stuff like that. If you're too close, they'll rather fight you than run away because it's easier and you are into their zone. But in general, these animals are afraid of you. If you approach a lion on foot and they see you, they will run away. And this is completely counterintuitive from what your fear tells you and what you think from seeing all these National Geographic documentaries and whatnot, because a lion is perfectly capable of killing you in an instant. It's also capable of jumping
Unless you
into
have a gun.
unless you have a gun. But even when you have a gun, good luck. You have to be a good shot. Because if you don't kill it instantly, it's you.
It's
And
so
these are
funny. We were in two different camps, and when we were traveling from one camp to the other, we took a helicopter, and the helicopter only fit. There were four of us, me and us, my husband and me and our kids, and our luggage, and they could only take two people at a time and luggage. So they had to leave two of us, on one side or the other. And when the helicopter got to the new place, the Land Rover wasn't there yet with the guide to pick them up. So it was a few minutes, but the timing usually works great, but it might be off by a few minutes. So my husband said to the pilot, "Oh, you can go get my wife and daughter. We'll stay here." And he's like, and the lions like to hang out on the landing strip because it's
yes,
cooler on the landing strip. So
yes.
they're called like the airstrip boys is the name for these two lions. And he's like, no, 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 no. Maybe I could leave a guide here, but you'd probably get eaten. You have no idea. There's lions that live here. So maybe, maybe not, but just be careful if you don't know what you're doing. That's the gist.
Yes, yes. No, it's really only for professionals to take what we consider risk that are in fact not really risks. I've
Right.
seen my boss because I made a video for them. They went on a walking safari to approach lions. They do walk safaris, and it's part of becoming a professional guide is you have to do walks. You have to do 100 walks, 1,000 walks. You have to have so many approaches of wild animals, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody needs to make their hours. It's like getting your driver's license or flying brevet or something. And I've seen them. I made a video for them because they were approaching a lion closer and closer and closer. So they were with the wind in their face, so that the lion couldn't smell them. The sun behind them, so the lions couldn't see them. And then they came very close. They were, I think, 10 meters away from a whole pride of lions, like 6 lions, 7 lions in total. And then normally the thing that you do is you go away, you go in and out without being seen. This is a perfect approach. But given that these were guides and trainers training the guides and not normal tourists, afoot they should create a situation that's a bit different. So my boss got up, stand up, clapped his hands. So the lions looked around and looked. So you see one lion putting his head up, then the other lion putting his head up, all extremely curious, like what's going on there? What do you think happened? I'm curious if you can tell.
You know what? It's so funny. Like, because I have this running thing with trying to analyze people. I go towards joy as opposed to run away with fear, and my head goes to that space. So, like, given who it was, I'm seeing those videos of like the lions who jump and hug. Like the people who raise them.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's where I was going, but I don't think anybody ran away in fear. So go ahead.
No, the guides stayed on their spot. They didn't move, they didn't do anything crazy. But first, the biggest male lion of all of them ran away the other direction,
That's so
still between the legs,
upsetting.
still between the legs. And then the rest, one by one, they all ran away. They're
Wow.
like, okay, we don't understand this situation. These are humans. We smell them now. We see them now. We don't like them. We get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not good to disturb animals, but it's such a crazy thing to realize that if you're on foot and you come across a pride of lions, 7 or 8 of them, you know, like rationally, you know they would kill all these people in an instant. Like there's no doubt about that. Yet the lions run away. And these type of things for me is extremely impressive. And I love working with guides who have so much experience in nature that they know how an elephant is going to act. They tell me beforehand, they say, okay, the elephant seems to be in must, so he is very hormonal and he's not in his best behavior today.
Those are the ones you don't
So
go near.
we don't go near, and you will see if we go a little bit near, he will turn to us, he will flap his ears, he will stamp on the ground, and indeed, exactly that happens. And this is beautiful. I find it very beautiful to see this animal behavior and to see how these animals interact. And that's yeah, for me it was mind-boggling to see the depth of the behavior, how they interact together. I've seen giraffes chasing away cheetahs, and you don't expect these animals to come across each other. You know, you think of lions by themselves, you think of zebras by themselves, but frankly, every zebra grows up in an environment full of lions, and lions are always close by. And I've seen zebras, they see a lion at 100-meter distance, and they don't care. They've spotted the lion, they don't move, they don't run away, they don't panic, nothing. They just continue grazing because they've spotted the lion. If the lion is 80 meters away, still good. If the lion is 60 meters away, still good. If the lion is 50 meters away, then they'll move a bit. Then they'll run away a little bit just to keep enough distance. But most zebras grow very old. They survive day after day after day after day with all these lions around them. And these type of things you never think about. But for me, it's just crazy. It's yeah,
It's
it's
interesting
mesmerizing.
because we saw the lion wild dog zebra interaction, which was the wild dogs are hungry and they have to hunt every day, multiple times a day, right? And they have to
Yeah,
feed the weak and the babies first, and then get another catch, as you just said, like for the adults, because they wait their turn. It's a very, very sophisticated family unit with a
yeah,
lot more layers than that. And the dogs took down a baby zebra. And the rest of the zebras, there were hundreds of them, were behaving in like the most interesting way. Like this wouldn't have happened because if the lion had been nearby, because I guess the dogs and the lions are not in the same place. So like if the lions came, the dogs would head off somewhere else, but they're aware of their predators, right? So the zebras were staying nearby, even though they could have been at risk, watching, hoping in some crazy way that this baby would survive this experience, which is
yeah,
what the guy told us. We're like, why don't they run away? But there's so much nuance and depth to the relationships. They were a certain distance, right? Just as
yeah,
you described, like there was something going on that we didn't really understand that was very intentional.
yeah. Yeah, these things are so surprising because they don't act like you and me would act. We would panic completely. I would run away until the next village.
Right.
But these
Exactly.
people, where are they going to run?
Actually, it's
Like,
funny because the guide said the first thing he learned growing up was how to climb a tree because there are certain times you just have to climb a tree and get away
yes.
if
Yeah,
you're too close, right?
yeah. It
Tell
works with most animals.
exactly. So yes, tell us what changed, like what you learned, what you can pass forward beyond just the incredible respect, admiration, awe for how sentient nature is. But tell us more, like what was going on in your head, and what has kept with you that we can learn from.
Yeah. Yeah, what I find so interesting is that, you know, as human beings, I feel that our fear levels are we're not living in a natural environment anymore, but we still have fear going on in our body. And there's normally it gets triggered by situations where, you know, there's a predator lurking behind the tree, so we're very anxious. We're on guard. But nowadays we have a lot of anxiety and fear, while we're not at great risk of losing our life at all. There's no predators around. Yet we have the same
Yeah.
hormones and the same mechanisms in our body that feed us with these type of feelings. And what I find so cool to see with proper nature guides who know what they're doing is that a situation that would be in any other circumstance would be extremely scary can be a situation with complete control. And as I said, I had a smile from ear to ear watching the wild dogs in front of me eat because I knew I was safe. Well, I wasn't safe. I'm not safe in the normal sense of the word because there's wild, bloody animals just in front of me. Yet I'm more safe in that spot than I am when I cross the road in a big city. And we don't make the right calculation about fear normally. Our mind is looking for fearful things. Our mind is looking out to survive. Our mind is always busy trying to keep us safe. But whether we don't see the difference between, we're afraid of flying, but we're not afraid of eating a hamburger. While the chances of dying from eating too many hamburgers is a million times bigger than flying. And I find it very funny to see how our levels are messed up because we live in an unnatural world and we're made for a natural world. We are nature ourselves. We're animals like any other animal. And for me to see how these guides can deal with situations that will be so fearful in any other circumstance, and then they have complete control. It was mesmerizing, it's inspiring, and it's also, funnily enough, there's a calm if you're in such a situation that goes way beyond what you expect. You expect to have your heart beating up here, but I was like most relaxed. I was I was excited, but relaxed. But never for a second was I fearful while I was facing a huge, a big pack of wild dogs just in front of me. And this changed something in my mind that, not every situation that you think of is fearful, and many situations that are not fearful you should actually be afraid of. And there's a mismatch.
There's your calculation. We don't have enough information. So we're making calculations about what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of based on the information that we are accessing. This is one of my, hot buttons. If you choose a certain pathway to information and it's selling you through lobbying efforts and, big dairy and big petroleum and big, whatever, you don't know what to be afraid of. And the media telling you, and it's interesting that you were doing social media because social media is short sound bites. And by the way, I'm working with Joost on this, but the idea is to get people to do this sudden interaction, through many times fear, right? So you tell the story of fear, it's much more appealing. And because you're calculating, you're like, oh my God, I have to, and that's the one story that you remember. And it comes into the calculation in way bigger part than it should, because you hear this one story that's very small and it's made very big. So, that's where we're all messed up. So what do we do? How do we change? How do we get the sense of what is important to the equation and what we need to just calm down? And, as a positive psychologist, this is the stuff I think about, but I'm thinking about it in a research way. What do you do, as really in the moment to stop being afraid of the stuff that to get it right, to get it better, at least?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, these guides, they can rely on their own knowledge and understanding of the natural world. They know so well animal behavior that they can do these things and they can trust themselves. They have faith. And I think in general, we cannot predict all the situations that will happen. But if you have faith in yourself that once a situation occurs, that you will do the right thing that is needed, you can relax. Because even if you don't know what is going to happen, you can know that whatever will happen, I will be there and I will be making the right decisions based on all my knowledge and understanding of the situation. And I have faith in myself to confront myself with these situations. And that's different from being in a state of anxiety or fear before the situation even arises. And this is what's happening to so many people now. We're in a constant state of anxiety, of fear, before anything bad even happens. There's not even a red flag up, but the possibility that there could be a red flag is enough to get us all stressed out.
If I leave my house, then all these stories starts coming in that have nothing to do with where you are when you actually leave your house. And you bring up such an important point, which is this whole construct of broaden and build, which I talked about in Banyan Tree episode, and in the whole idea that, and a humor one that's coming up, that if we are in a place of anxiety and fear, and we let ourselves move into that without enough reason to move into that place, we shut down. Our brains shut down and go into fear, and they cannot be creative.
Yeah.
They cannot be curious. They cannot be empathetic. They cannot problem solve. We end up being stuck and way more dangerous.
Sabotage. Yeah. 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 And often this is the funny thing. A friend of mine from the Netherlands who ran camps in Botswana, like those luxury camps, he wrote a book called You Run, You Die. And it's funny because just this title explains that when you let fear kick in and you run away from a lion, you're dead. So in many situations in life, when fear or anxiety or all these stressful factors in your body dictate your behavior, it actually makes things worse.
Yeah. I mean,
And
that's
a very...
Take the pause, like stop and think. Don't just react, right? Like respond, but don't react.
Yes.
And that's, I think I'm getting from you, like stop and recognize what information is valid. Don't just be instinctive. Like if we act instinctively, which we are, we're doing what we actually judge the animal kingdom of doing, which they don't actually do.
Yes,
think, right?
It's upside down. Right. We live in a completely unnatural world, but we have very natural habits and behaviors, and they mismatch. And if we just let our instinct get the better of us, we're acting like we're in a natural world. We're back to tribalism and smashing each other's brains in. So the whole difference between that and today's world, it requires us to be reasonable, to use our reason to override these instincts and to behave better, appropriate to the situation. And I find this
so important.
Yeah.
Such an important message. Just bringing that forward, that, in this situation that was turned upside down, like stop and think and explore stories in your head that didn't make sense after you stepped back, that were backwards, that were upside down, and think, how can I do that better next time so I'm not upside down? And I'm making a better decision, and I'm living my life without as much stress and without as much anxiety, and not spreading that negative energy either. Okay, so these are supposed to be short episodes. They never are. So I'm going to just ask you to wrap it up. Tell us, what you want us to leave us with, wherever your head goes on that.
I think my message in general is always the same. I wish everybody would have the opportunity to enjoy the wildest of nature, because it will make us better humans and take better care of ourselves, of each other, of our planet, and everything alongside us. And I think almost everybody I know who's into wildlife conservation has had these experiences. So we should almost make it obliged to go out into nature, to look at a waterfall, a mountain, and sunrise, all these type of things, because these are the things, this is the planet on which we live, and we should take good care of our own home. Like we don't throw garbage in our living room, so we should throw garbage in our planet.
As Oliver said in the interview, who connected us, Oliver Dort, that 5 minutes in nature a day changes everything. Just invest 5 minutes a day, and just your life, your brain, everything will change, and for the better.
Yeah. And for yourself and the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. You will feel so much better.
You're awesome.
It's the best remedy.
So everybody, watch for all the cool work that Joost and I are going to be doing together on these really amazing new things that are coming our way. And thank you. Joy having you here.
It was a big pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of BLI Studios, produced by me, Kai. Follow along with our other BLI produced shows at balancinglifesissues.com/podcast-BLI. Got an idea for the show? Email me, Kai, at balancinglifesissues.com. And don't forget to stay in touch with your host, Jessica, at jessica@winwinwinmindset.com. Anything else to add, Miles?
Yeah.